everyone. Respect, it's not bought, it's not demanded, and it's definitely not guaranteed. It's earned. And often the biggest barrier to earning it is not what we lack, but what we refuse to let go of. Today, I want to share 5 habits you must remove to earn respect, and 1 bonus habit that can turn respect into genuine admiration. There's a fine line between expressing yourself and exhausting the patience of those around you, and it often comes down to the balance between talking and listening. Many people believe that the more they talk, the more intelligent, knowledgeable, or impressive they appear. They think that dominating a conversation proves leadership or confidence. In reality, the opposite is often true. The person who talks without pause may be heard, but they are rarely truly listened to. Respect is not earned through the sheer volume of your words. It's earned through the value you add, and often the deepest value comes from your ability to listen. When you constantly talk, you unknowingly send a silent but powerful message. My thoughts matter more than yours. Even if you don't intend arrogance, this habit can make people feel dismissed or invisible. Human beings crave validation, and one of the simplest ways to give it is by listening attentively. When someone shares an idea, an opinion, or even a frustration, and you interrupt or immediately steer the topic back to yourself, you're essentially saying, what I have to say is more important. Over time, this erodes trust, connection, and ultimately respect. Listening is not passive, it's an active choice. It means not only hearing words, but also paying attention to tone, emotion, and unspoken meaning. It requires patience, resisting the urge to jump in with your own story, your own example, or your own advice. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say in a conversation is nothing at all. A a thoughtful nod, or a simple tell me more can speak volumes about your character. People respect those who make them feel valued. When you listen deeply, you do more than collect information. You validate the speaker's worth. You give them the space to express themselves fully, and in doing so, you show humility. Respect often flows toward those who have the wisdom to recognize that their own perspective is not the only one that matters. Constant talking also carries another hidden cost. You miss opportunities to learn. Every person you meet knows something you don't. But if you fill the air with your own voice, you rob yourself of the chance to gain insight from others. Leaders, mentors, and trusted friends are often those who speak less but absorb more. Their words carry weight because they choose them carefully, informed by what they've heard from others. Earning respect starts with this simple shift. Prioritize understanding over being understood. Instead of preparing your next comment while the other person is speaking, focus entirely on what they're saying. Ask clarifying questions, reflect their points back to them, and resist the urge to outshine their story with your own. Ironically, when you speak less but listen better, people will want to hear more from you because they know that when you do speak, it will be worth listening to. That's the quiet power that earns lasting respect. When you make a promise, you're not just offering words, but you're offering a piece of your credibility. Whether it's committing to a major project deadline or simply agreeing to meet a friend for coffee, every promise is a small contract of trust. Breaking that promise, no matter how minor it may seem to you, sends a ripple effect through the way people perceive you. Over time, those ripples turn into waves that can wash away the respect you've worked hard to build. Some people believe that small promises don't really matter. They think, it's just lunch, I can reschedule, or it's just a quick favor, they'll understand if I forget. But respect is often built on the smallest bricks. Consistent, reliable actions that prove your word means something. If you repeatedly fail to keep even small commitments, people begin to question your reliability in bigger matters. They start to wonder if your agreements are casual suggestions rather than trustworthy assurances. When you break promises, you're not just inconveniencing others, you're signaling that their time, expectations, and needs aren't as important as yours. Even if your reason is valid, the pattern of unreliability creates a sense of instability in relationships. People want to feel secure knowing that when you say you'll do something, you'll follow through. Without that, your presence becomes unpredictable, and unpredictability rarely earns respect. It's worth noting that keeping promises doesn't mean overcommitting or stretching yourself thin to please everyone. In fact, the opposite is true. One of the keys to maintaining respect is making fewer promises, but keeping them all. Be honest about what you can and cannot do. There's far more respect in saying, I'm sorry, I can't commit to that right now, than in saying yes and failing to deliver. Life will inevitably throw curveballs. Emergencies happen, plans change. And sometimes keeping a promise becomes genuinely impossible. In those cases, the difference between losing and keeping respect comes down to communication. Let the other person know as soon as you can, apologize sincerely, and take responsibility. This shows that you still value the commitment even if you can't fulfill it as planned. The habit of honoring your word builds a reputation that precedes you. People will see you as dependable, trustworthy, and professional. They will feel confident relying on you, whether in personal friendships or business partnerships. And here's the interesting part. When you become known for keeping promises, people will also be more forgiving when circumstances force you to break one. They'll know it's the exception, not the rule. Respect grows in the soil of trust, and trust is cultivated by the steady, quiet act of keeping your word. Every promise you make is an opportunity to strengthen that trust. Every promise you break is a chip in its foundation. Choose to make your words as dependable as your actions, and over time you'll find that respect doesn't have to be demanded. It will be offered to you freely. Avoiding responsibility might seem like a way to protect yourself from blame or discomfort, but in reality, it damages both your reputation and the respect others have for you. When you dodge accountability, you send the message that you care more about preserving your image than about fixing problems or learning from them. Over time, people begin to see you as unreliable, immature, or even dishonest, none of which inspire trust or respect. The habit often shows up in subtle ways. It's not always an outright refusal to take the blame. Sometimes it's blaming circumstances, shifting fault onto others, or using vague excuses like, "It's not really my job," or "That's just the way things happened." Each time you do this, you create a gap between yourself and the truth, and those around you notice. Even if they don't call you out directly, they begin to question your integrity. Owning your mistakes is one of the fastest ways to build respect because it requires humility and courage. When you acknowledge what went wrong and your role in it, you're telling others that you value truth over ego. You're also showing that you're willing to learn and improve rather than pretending perfection. People can forgive an error far more easily than they can forgive denial or dishonesty. Taking responsibility also strengthens your relationships. In professional settings, colleagues and managers are far more likely to trust someone who admits mistakes and works to correct them than someone who tries to hide errors or pass the blame. In personal life, friends and family appreciate the maturity of someone who can say, "That was my fault and I'll fix it." This kind of openness creates a sense of safety. They know you won't throw them under the bus when things go wrong. The irony is that avoiding responsibility doesn't protect your reputation, it erodes it. You may escape one moment of discomfort, but you pay for it with long-term credibility. Once people see you as someone who shirks accountability, they may stop giving you important roles or trusting you with serious tasks. Your influence shrinks, and the respect you crave slips further away. The solution is straightforward, though not always easy. Practice radical ownership. When something goes wrong, identify your part in it, no matter how small. Communicate openly about what happened, what you've learned, and what steps you'll take to prevent it from happening again. This turns a potentially damaging moment into a demonstration of leadership and integrity. Ultimately, respect grows in the presence of responsibility. When people see you as someone who stands by their word, owns their actions, and addresses mistakes head-on, they view you as dependable and strong. Responsibility is not a burden to avoid. It's a privilege that, when embraced, transforms mistakes into opportunities and turns challenges into moments that deepen the respect others have for you. Speaking without thinking can feel harmless in the moment, especially when you're caught up in excitement, frustration, or the rush of wanting to respond quickly. But words have weight, and once they leave your mouth, you can't pull them back. A careless comment might be forgotten by you within minutes, yet it can linger in someone else's mind for years. Respect often hinges on how we communicate, and impulsive speech can damage that respect faster than almost anything else. The problem with speaking without thinking is that it bypasses consideration of the truth, the timing, and the tone. You might reveal something that was meant to stay private, make a joke that lands as an insult, or offer an opinion that shows insensitivity to the situation. In each case, the impact is the same. People begin to see you as reckless with your words and therefore untrustworthy with their feelings or information. In many situations, the habit springs from the urge to fill silence, prove a point, or assert knowledge. But silence is not your enemy, it's a tool. A moment of pause before speaking allows you to shape your message with clarity and care. It also shows the listener that you respect the conversation enough to consider your response thoughtfully, rather than blurting the first thing that comes to mind. Speaking impulsively can also create misunderstandings. Without taking time to think, you may choose words that don't fully reflect what you mean, leaving room for misinterpretation. In personal relationships, this can lead to unnecessary arguments or hurt feelings. In professional environments, it can undermine your credibility or make you appear unprepared. Respect thrives when people can trust not only your intentions, but also your ability to express them clearly. The good news is that controlling this habit isn't about censoring yourself or walking on eggshells. It's about building a buffer between thought and speech, a mental checkpoint where you ask yourself, is this true? Is it necessary? Is it respectful? Even just a few seconds of reflection can transform your words from reactionary to impactful. Another key is to develop empathy in your communication. Consider how your words might land for the other person, given their current mood, context, or background. What sounds harmless to you might be deeply cutting to them. Respect grows when people know you speak with their dignity in mind, not just your own need to express yourself. Over time, thoughtful speech builds a reputation for wisdom and maturity. People listen more closely to those who choose their words carefully because they know each sentence is likely to carry meaning rather than noise. By slowing down and thinking before you speak, you turn conversations into opportunities for connection rather than conflict. And in doing so, you transform casual respect into lasting trust. Time is one of the most valuable resources any of us have, and unlike money or possessions, it can never be replaced once it's spent. When you disrespect time, whether your own or someone else's, you send a silent but powerful message about your priorities and values. People notice when you show up late, drag meetings unnecessarily, procrastinate on agreed tasks, or keep others waiting without explanation. These actions say, your time is less important than mine, even if you never speak those words aloud. Over time, such habits chip away at respect and trust. Being late or wasting time often stems from underestimating the value of each moment. It's easy to think 5 minutes here or there doesn't matter, but repeated delays or inefficiencies add up quickly in the eyes of others. For a colleague who has prepared for a meeting or a friend who cleared part of their day to see you, those 5 minutes are not insignificant. They represent energy, planning, and effort that went unacknowledged. Consistently disregarding this effort erodes goodwill. It's not just about punctuality. Respecting time is also about efficiency. In work environments, dragging out meetings with irrelevant discussions or failing to prepare beforehand shows a lack of respect for the group's productivity. The same principle applies in personal life. Monopolizing someone's time without purpose or failing to honor agreed schedules tells them you take their presence for granted. Interestingly, disrespecting your own time can also cause others to lose respect for you. If you frequently procrastinate, overcommit, or allow distractions to consume your day, you signal that your time has little worth. People may then assume they can also treat it casually. Respect starts with self-respect, and how you guard your hours sets the tone for how others treat them too. The solution lies in intentionality. Start by being realistic with your commitments. If you can't make a deadline or appointment, it's better to say so upfront than to overpromise and underdeliver. When you agree to a time, protect it. Arrive prepared, focused, and ready to make the most of the minutes you have. Communicate proactively if delays happen, and always express appreciation for others' patience. Honoring time creates a subtle but powerful ripple effect. People begin to view you as dependable, professional, and considerate. They trust that when you schedule something, it will be worthwhile and handled efficiently. This reputation not only earns respect, but also opens doors, because people are more willing to collaborate, help, and spend their time with someone who values it as much as they do. In the end, time is life measured in minutes and hours. Disrespecting it, whether yours or theirs, is ultimately disrespecting the person who owns it. Treat time like the precious, limited resource it is, and you'll find that respect follows naturally because you're honoring not just the clock, but the people behind it.